Hey friends, today we're going to look at some market things that are extremely crucial for the future. But we will also talk about where we currently stand. Once we've covered that, we'll look at what your goals can be and how to achieve those goals. Because today's video is a bit about how to make reasonable money during this bull run. And I will also show you some interesting things related to that. But before we continue, it's really a tough market phase right now. And I rely even more on your support. So please give the video a like and leave a comment so that it can reach as many people as possible. Thank you. First, let's take a look at where we currently stand in the cycle. And right now we are in a state of complete fear. Historically, we are in the completely overbought range with the RSI, and that has always been the point in the past where we started to rise reasonably again with Bitcoin. We can see that here as well. We've really come down extremely hard here. We are completely overbought here with the RSI. And in the past, as I said, that was often a sign that we saw a turnaround here, for example, and then we saw a nice upward trend here. And that has always been the case in the past. Whenever we are this low in the RSI, a turnaround happens and we move back into positive territory. Because it's definitely not normal for us to be this deep in fear. Yesterday we were also at 4. The green index is at 10, which is really crazy. But it's not enough to look at the whole thing in such a short-term way. We're looking at the bigger picture. So we need to clarify the question, is the cycle already over? Is that it? And I would say clearly no. Historically, in terms of time and data, we have always had our bull run peak 17 to 18 months after the halving. And that was the case in 2017, and it was the same in 2021. We had our bull run peak exactly 17 to 18 months after the halving. And right now we still have 7 to 8 months ahead of us where we've predicted a bull run phase. Of course, it could also be that we have a stronger correction in between, just like in 2021. That's how it feels right now. What can also happen in this regard is that we might hit our peak either at the beginning of 2025 or that it could shift at the end of 2025. That's definitely possible because, as I said, we theoretically have time until October, September, when we should be building up our bull run peak. But based on time and data, we're still completely in the bullish momentum and theoretically have a few bullish months ahead of us. And no matter what top indicators we look at, we can see that we haven't built a bull run top yet. We didn't do that with the 200-week moving average, but also with the terminal price index. So we would need to reach nearly $200,000 for Bitcoin to be at the bull run peak. And this indicator has accurately predicted our bull run top in the past. Similar to the P-cycle top indicator, which has never lied in the past and has always been correct. There alone, we would need to reach price targets of $140,000 for Bitcoin just to rise above this purple line. And from there, it continued on. All the indicators I'm looking at still show that we definitely haven't seen a bull top, and that we definitely still have some positive months ahead of us based on time and data. Then we've clarified that for now, we still have good months ahead of us. We're not in a bear market yet, and still we have a correction that's just a normal part of the market. That's part of it. Now we need to clarify, what is your goal? And I think the goal for each and every one of us here is to become financially free. I don't know if it's about the millions now or what it's really about in the end. In most cases, it's really about becoming financially independent. And let me put together a rough calculation for you. So what is financial freedom? In financial freedom, we simply say that you can cover your fixed costs and your daily life can be covered with passive income. And that would be possible, for example, by having $250,000, earning 12% interest annually. And with that, you would have $30,000 every year without doing anything. $30,000. And getting 12% annually is not hard at all in the crypto market. Projects like AV sometimes offer 10 to 13% if you deposit your stablecoins there, because this DeFi protocol ultimately lends out your money. Like a real bank, in the end, you are the lender here. You can do that, but you can also engage in liquidity mining, specifically on Uniswap. There, for example, you can also get 7% per year, and that's just how it is. There are many different options here. The full possibilities, and depending on market sentiment, 10% is quite realistic. Just with the project Hyperliquid, which I've shown you a few times over the last few days, they have massive usage. In the end, it's a decentralized exchange. Because they have such a large usage, they are now behind Tether and Circle in terms of 24-hour revenue. That means this protocol generates nowadays more revenue per day than Solana and Ethereum combined. And here there is a buy and burn mechanism. And because of that, you can get 15 to 20% on your capital here at Hyperliquid. And that's a lot of money. And that's why I tell you, with $250,000, most people could already become financially free. So that could definitely be a first milestone to reach that amount. And as I said, you can then deposit your money in certain DeFi protocols to get to your 10 to achieve up to 20% annually. But another option is to simply invest money in Bitcoin and try to invest wisely. There. And here I'm just going to show you the interest calculator. You invest $10,000 and you add another $300 monthly. You have a saving period of 10 years, and let's say we have an annual interest rate of 30%. If we have all that, we would have $291,000 after 10 years. And you're probably thinking, how can you get 30% annually with Bitcoin? Just take a look at this increase. Since the bear market, we've made almost 600% up to the current top. Of course, there are also these phases where you just go down. That's why it's so important to buy relatively low and sell relatively high with Bitcoin, but achieving returns of 30% per year with Bitcoin is quite realistic. It's not unrealistic at all. To be honest, it's not hard at all. And if we extended this entire saving period to 20 years, we would already have a capital of 4.1 million euros. So think about it. We start with $10,000, invest $300 monthly, save it all for 20 years, and then we would theoretically have $4.1 million after 20 years. That's how powerful the compound interest effect is. And I definitely wanted to show you this in this video because many underestimate the power of compound interest. Still, it's extremely important to look at the whole thing from a long-term perspective, especially if you have less capital and want to play it safe. Because if you want to play it safe, then you rely on Bitcoin. And when you go into the bear market with Bitcoin, you invest in a few DeFi projects where we can get about 5 to 7% to build up additional cash reserves in case we hit the bottom and then get back into Bitcoin. These are some ways to turn a small amount of capital into a lot of capital in the long run. So we've clarified where we currently stand and what the goal is. The goal is always to achieve financial freedom. I gave you an example of how you can theoretically be financially free today with just $250,000. And I showed you an example of how you can turn a small amount of capital into a lot of capital in the long run. However, most people want a shortcut and don't want to hold it for 20 years. That's why we're now looking at point 3. You definitely have to take risks in this regard, and I would always secure everything with Bitcoin. But what you can also do is invest in new, good, fresh projects where you might see significantly more potential than just 5 to 10 times, although it's riskier. And here I want to introduce you to a few narratives for the coming years. This cloud computing thing, we saw with the Render token, how we shot up from 100 million market cap to 5 billion market cap. So really a 50x in just 2 years, that's crazy. So what can life-changing money bring you? So that could change your entire life. In the cloud computing sector, we see the trends rising. The forecasts indicate that we will see huge growth in the coming years. I honestly think that also, with cloud computing, it's about using unused GPU and CPU power. And with that, you can ultimately still train AIs and so on. This definitely creates huge added value, and in my opinion, that's extremely important. What would also be really interesting, this AI agents area. Right now, we're still significantly lower in terms of market capitalization, but we also see much greater growth in the coming years. These are narratives that are extremely crucial for the future and where you can already see with high certainty that billions will flow in there. Or real-world agents. This is also a sector that is just starting to emerge, where we see even companies like BlackRock and others pushing these narratives, promoting these narratives. And it's extremely important to definitely focus on future-proof narratives when you're investing here